China's deadliest war killed more people than World War I, but I'll bet you've barely heard its name. It was a rebellion so bizarre, so apocalyptic, and so drenched in blood that it made the American Civil War look like a minor feud. And yet, just a few generations later, it's almost vanished from the world's collective memory. How did a forgotten war nearly bring down the world's oldest empire, and change the destiny of China forever? Spoiler. The story is way weirder than you think. Let's travel back to the 1850s, to a China on the brink. The Qing dynasty, rulers of the Middle Kingdom for 2 centuries, are rotting from the inside. Floods, famines, and corruption are chipping away at the empire's foundations. British gunboats have just smashed their way up the coast in the Opium Wars, leaving humiliation and addiction in their wake. The emperor's court clings to ancient rituals while their people starve. But beneath the surface, a storm is brewing, one that will explode into the deadliest civil war in history. Our unlikely hero, if you can call him that, is a failed scholar named Hong Xiuquan. Imagine a man obsessed with passing China's infamously difficult civil service exams, only to fail over and over until he's spiraling into madness. Hong gets his hands on a Christian pamphlet, has a series of feverish visions, and emerges convinced he is the younger brother of Jesus Christ, chosen to rid China of demons. No, not a metaphor. He literally believes God sent him to overthrow the Qing and establish a heavenly kingdom on earth. So, what do you do when you're the self-declared sibling of the Messiah? You start a revolution, obviously. Hong gathers a ragtag army of outcasts, peasants, and disillusioned scholars. They call themselves the Taiping, meaning great peace, but what follows is anything but peaceful. By 1851, the Taiping have launched a full-scale uprising. Within a year, tens of thousands have joined their ranks. By 1853, they seize the city of Nanjing, slaughtering its defenders and declaring it their capital. The heavenly kingdom of great peace is born. But this isn't just a power grab. The Taiping want to tear up Chinese society by the roots. Out go Confucian classics, foot binding, opium, and traditional hairstyles. In come radical gender equality, communal property, and a bizarre blend of Christian doctrine and Hong's own commandments. Men and women are strictly segregated, even married couples can't live together. No alcohol, no tobacco, no gambling. The Taiping ban anything they see as demonic, but their definition of demonic is creative, to say the least. And then there's Hong himself. He rules from a golden palace in Nanjing, surrounded by eunuchs, concubines, and layers of bureaucracy. His word is law. Dissent is met with instant execution. Hong's charisma is almost hypnotic. His followers believe he can perform miracles, heal the sick, and command the weather. But behind the scenes, paranoia and power struggles are already rotting the movement from within. Meanwhile, the Qing court is in full panic. Imagine being the emperor and realizing an army of fanatics has just carved out a kingdom in the heart of your realm. The Qing military is overstretched and demoralized. Their best troops are off fighting the British and French in humiliating wars. Local governors raise their own militias, but corruption is rampant and loyalty is thin. The dynasty is teetering on the edge. But the Taiping aren't the only ones with a vision for China's future. Enter the Westerners. British and French diplomats watch the chaos with a mix of horror and greed. At first, some missionaries are hopeful. Maybe the Taiping will open China to Christianity? But when reports emerge of mass executions, forced conversions, and Hong's increasingly cult-like behavior, Western support cools. The British decide the Qing may be corrupt, but at least they're predictable. In a twist of irony, the old enemies become uneasy allies. Back in the heavenly kingdom, things are getting stranger by the day. Hong Xiuquan withdraws from daily affairs, spending his days writing apocalyptic proclamations, eating exotic fruits, and leaving the actual fighting to his lieutenants. Power shifts to men like Yang Shouqing, the self-proclaimed Eastern King, who claims he can channel the voice of God. Soon, the Taiping leadership devolves into vicious infighting, with coups, assassinations, and purges worthy of any mafia drama. Meanwhile, the war is consuming everything in its path. The Taiping armies sweep across southern China, leaving cities in ruins. The Qing respond with equal brutality, burning villages and slaughtering suspected sympathizers. The countryside becomes a wasteland of refugees, famine, and disease. Historians estimate that between 20 and 30 million people die, more than the population of England at the time. To put that in perspective, the Taiping Rebellion killed more people than the Napoleonic Wars, the American Civil War, and the entire 30 Years' War combined. It's a number so huge it barely feels real. But why don't we hear about it? Why is the Taiping Rebellion a footnote, not a headline, in world history? Part of the answer is geography. China in the 19th century is still a mystery to most of the West. Part of it is politics. Both the Qing and the later communist government are eager to erase or rewrite the story. And part of it is sheer weirdness. The idea of a self-proclaimed Chinese Jesus leading a doomed crusade just doesn't fit the neat boxes of most history textbooks. Yet, the impact is seismic. The Taiping Rebellion exposes the fatal weaknesses of the Qing dynasty. The imperial government survives, but only just. In the chaos, local warlords and foreign powers grab more and more control. The economy is shattered. Entire provinces are depopulated. The trauma of the war lingers for generations, fueling new rebellions, reforms, and revolutions. Many historians argue that the fall of the Qing in 1912, the end of imperial China, can be traced directly back to the wounds opened by the Taiping. And the ideas unleashed by Hong Xiuquan don't just vanish. His call for equality, land reform, and the destruction of old hierarchies echoes through Chinese history. Revolutionary leaders like Sun Yat-sen and Mao Zedong study the Taiping as both a cautionary tale and a source of inspiration. Even today, debates rage in China over whether Hong was a madman, a prophet, or a harbinger of modernity. But let's drill down to the human level. Imagine you're a villager in 1850s China. One day, a Taiping army marches through, demanding total loyalty and confiscating your land in the name of the heavenly kingdom. If you resist, you're dead. If you submit, you risk everything when the Qing counterattack. There's no safe side. The war doesn't just kill people, it uproots lives, erases families, and shatters communities. There are moments of almost surreal drama. In 1860, the Taiping launch an audacious assault on Shanghai, China's gateway to the world. Foreign mercenaries, like American adventurer Frederick Townsend Ward, lead, ever-victorious armies, to defend the city. It's a clash of global cultures. Chinese rebels, Qing loyalists, British officers, and American soldiers, all playing their part in a conflict that feels both medieval and modern. The Siege of Nanjing is the war's grim finale. For over a decade, the city stands as the Taiping capital, a strange blend of utopian dream and brutal dictatorship. When Qing forces finally breach its walls in 1864, the result is a bloodbath. Hong Xiuquan is already dead. Some say by poison, others by disease. His followers fight to the last man, woman, and child. The city is left in ruins, littered with corpses. The dream of the heavenly kingdom dies with a whimper, not a bang. But the aftershocks ripple out for decades. With its population decimated, southern China becomes a laboratory for new ideas. Secret societies, religious cults, and revolutionary cells all sprout from the ashes. The Qing dynasty manages to limp along, propped up by foreign guns and endless reforms, but its days are numbered. China will never be the same. Let's pause and ask. What if the Taiping had won? What if Hong Xiuquan had managed to unite China under his heavenly kingdom? It's one of history's great what-ifs. Would China have become a theocratic Christian empire, or would it have splintered into chaos even faster? Would the Western powers have intervened more directly? Would the great revolutions of the 20th century have taken a different path? We'll never know, but the shadow of the Taiping still haunts those who ponder China's fate. And yet, outside China, the Taiping Rebellion is barely taught. Maybe it's just too strange for easy retelling. Maybe the scale of the violence is just too much to process. Maybe history prefers its heroes and villains in simpler packages. But if you want to understand why modern China is obsessed with order, stability, and control, look no further than the nightmare of the Taiping. The rebellion also left a deep scar on the Chinese psyche. Survivors told stories of entire towns disappearing overnight, of rivers running red with blood, of children orphaned and ancient traditions wiped out. It's no wonder that for decades people tried to forget. But the ghosts of the Taiping linger in folktales, ruins, and even the shape of Chinese politics today. And then there's the sheer weirdness of it all. A failed civil servant who thinks he's Jesus's brother. A utopian city where men and women live apart and everyone is forced to sing hymns. Armies marching under banners that mix Bible verses with Chinese calligraphy. Western soldiers of fortune-making and losing fortunes in a war they barely understand. It's a tapestry of madness and zealotry, of hope and horror. But for every fanatic, there are millions of ordinary people caught in the crossfire. Peasants forced to fight for causes they barely grasp. Families uprooted and scattered. A civilization fighting for its soul, one burning village at a time. The Taiping Rebellion isn't just a story of leaders and battles. It's a story of survival, loss, and the desperate search for a better world. And here's the final twist. The Qing victory wasn't really a victory at all. The dynasty was so weakened that it became a puppet to foreign powers. The seeds of revolution were sown deep. Within 50 years, the empire would collapse, swept away by the tides of modernity and rebellion. The chaos of the Taiping had shown China, and the world, just how fragile even the mightiest empires could be. If you've stuck with me this far, you've just scratched the surface of one of history's strangest and most important wars. The next time you hear about modern China's drive for unity and control, remember the forgotten war that nearly tore it apart. One led by visions, fueled by rage, and remembered mostly in whispers. If you want more stories that history textbooks gloss over, hit that subscribe button and join us at History Owl. We dive deep into the overlooked, the unbelievable, and the untold. What other forgotten wars or hidden chapters would you like to see uncovered? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and until next time, stay curious, and keep seeking the wisdom of history.